So I've been playing Escape from Tarkov for a little bit over a year now. And I think one of the things that draws me into the game is not just its graphics or its gameplay or anything like that. It's how accurate their sound design is. And just like in movies, like you can have the most visually pleasing movie out there, 1200, 1000Ks and 3D and all this stuff. But if your sound design is ass, no one's going to want to watch it. I think that a game like Tarkov, grounded in as much realism as possible, they've really hit a home run when it comes to this sound design. And I'm playing this game and I'm like, man, like I really enjoy the sounds in this game. A lot of the firearms are accurate. The silencers are accurate. What could I do to do a comparison? So I figured, I got some guns that you can actually make similarly inside of Tarkov. And I decided to head out to the range and give it a go and see how it actually compares to real life versus in the video game. So let's check it out. Take that, bitch. So I wondered how I was actually going to go about doing this, because I needed to fire the guns and hear the noise myself, but also test the sound of shots coming at me. If I'm going to demonstrate that in real life, then I'm going to go ahead and need to see it in the game. So I did what any reasonable person would do and enlisted the help of my friends to try and get this done. And I tell you what, we had kind of a hard time at first, but eventually we got it down.
Dead.
You're dead?
Uh-huh.
Also, for some reason, my recording settings for OBS were all messed up when I took this, and I wasn't going to force my friends to do it again. So I'm sorry, it looks like trash. Despite there being tons of weapons to choose from in Tarkov, I decided to keep it simple. Also because I really don't have a whole lot of stuff to demonstrate. I decided to use a pistol and 2 different rifles and a subgun. Unfortunately, I don't have an MP5, so I decided the next best thing to use would be a Scorpion Evo 3S1. So unfortunately, it's not roller delayed blowback, it's just regular blowback, and you guys are just going to have to deal without me having Teutonic German weaponry. So sorry about that, but for all intensive purposes, we're going to go ahead and demonstrate a pistol, 2 different rifles with 2 different silencers, and a subgun. Same thing in real life. We're going to demonstrate a handgun, 2 different rifles, and a subgun. Just to kind of hit on silencers IRL real quick, is the name silencer is a misnomer. It really doesn't, quote unquote, make it silenced. Like, it's hard to explain, but the gist of it, without going into a 20-minute video on what silencers actually are, is you put a silencer, which is more like a moderator or a muffler, on your muzzle of your firearm. And what it does is it allows the bullet to exit the front of the firearm past the silencer before the concussive blast from the shot. And it does this by using a set of baffles inside of the silencer. And it's these baffles that slow the gas down and give it that and that quietness. Like, silencers aren't just hollow. Like, there's actually little intricately machined designs in there that are designed to stop the flow of hot gas, or not so much stop, but to slow it down long enough to allow the bullet to exit the muzzle without the report of the firearm. The main goal really of a silencer is to reduce your signature. And it's really effective in military operations because you go out at night, you're running, high-powered rifles, whether it be, assault rifles or battle rifles or whatever have you. And if you're not running a silencer, you're going to have muzzle flash. You're going to do all this other stuff to the ground and to your environment that's going to give your position away. Much like the Surefire cans, which aren't really designed to be silencers, but they're designed to reduce the signature of the person using it. I believe one of the testing criteria for one or more of the Surefire silencers is they held it over the ground and they fired a high-powered rifle cartridge, and it wasn't meant to disturb the dirt or anything on the ground. And it passed, I guess, because the military uses surefire cans all the time. But it's meant, really, silencers are meant to reduce your signature. And you can really, if you play Tarkov, you'll be running across a map and you just hear a tsh, and then you're dead. Or you get shot and you have no idea where it come from. Again, that's effective sound design for the video game using real-world concepts on how silencers work. You don't see the muzzle flash, really. You tend not to hear where it came from, and it's effective at reducing the signature of the person using it, whether it be you or someone else using it against you. Also, to kind of dispel the myth that, we are going to dispel the myth that silencers aren't really silent inside of this video, but I wanted to show you the difference between quote-unquote Hollywood quiet and quiet. Like silencers, they generally reduce the volume of a firearm discharging. But you can get super quiet by using a blade of gel or water on specific silencers, by running subsonic ammunition, by running a higher grain projectile, or the weight of the bullet that actually comes out of the muzzle. All these things have an effect on how quiet a silencer can actually be. So I wanted to demonstrate that for you real quick, just so you can understand how quiet a silencer can actually be. And it's using a 22 long rifle cartridge out of a bolt action rifle using a 22 silencer. And here, just listen. You can just see how quiet a regular shot is versus a suppressed shot. From another perspective, here is my Ruger Mark III unsuppressed and then suppressed with a Dead Air Mask HD.
Of course.
Now, I shoot this gun a lot suppressed, and the thing is, when you shoot a firearm suppressed, it tends to dirty up the inside of the firearm a lot. So this fouling tends to cause stoppages or malfunctions within the firearm, and you can see me clearly getting frustrated here, trying to clear the firearm so I can make cohesive footage. Rimfire silencers are the silencers that you can really notice the suppression between unsuppressed and suppressed. So pay attention to the previous shots and how they sounded, and these next shots. The reason why I wanted to show you rimfire silencers compared to centerfire silencers is that the results are a little bit more observable and you can really appreciate the sound difference between the two. Speaking of weapon fouling, I wanted to go ahead and show you the results of what happens when you shoot consistently with a silencer. Not only does all that carbon and blowback go back into the actual firearm, but also goes into the magazine, and it just dirties everything. So some people are like, oh yeah, silencers are so great, suppression and all that cool stuff. But then this is the fallout. Every so often you got to pull your magazines apart, clean them, and it's just absolutely filthy. This is brand new ammunition, like just unboxed today, and this is the result of shooting suppressed. Now, I know what you all might be saying. It's like,
whoa, that wasn't that quiet.
Well, duh. We were fighting the wind, and we're using standard velocity ammunition and not subsonic. But you'll notice the puff of smoke through the front of the firearm from when it discharged without the silencer compared to it with it. That's what I'm talking about, signature reduction. It removes that aspect of it, lessens the concussion of the shot, and allows the shooter better concealment of their shot versus just using a muzzle device or even just, a regular crowned muzzle. So let's get right down to the nitty gritty of this test. Let's go ahead and shoot some guns, both in a video game and in real life, and let's see how they sound. I actually shot the silencer wet first on the Scorpion Evo 3S1, and you can see right here that this is the result of shooting silencers wet. You just get a ton of blowback and dirt inside of the firearm. It's pretty gross. So I spoke briefly about shooting the Omega 9K wet, and this is what I was talking about. Basically, you can pull a little bit more performance out of your silencer by adding a media inside of the actual silencer, such as water or a blade of gel, and that's basically it. Always, always, always consult your owner's manual or your silencer manufacturer before you put anything inside of it. As you can see, the results are pretty negligible. Something like a wipe would probably be more efficient in this case, but this silencer isn't designed for wipes, and the ATF and their fuckery decided that wipes are silencer parts, so you are kind of asked out in that department. So for this last test, I wanted to do noise levels relative to the distance between the observer and the shooter. The first test is about 25 yards behind the muzzle and behind the shooter, and the second test is about 25 yards in front of the muzzle and in front of the shooter downrange at the target berm. So as you can see, silencers, even though the name doesn't really give credence to them actually being silent, they actually serve a purpose in reducing your signature both to the public. If you're at a public range, it reduces that noise pollution. And what it also does is it reduces your signature in perhaps a combat situation. And in our case, that's Tarkov. We play this video game, we love it, and there's all sorts of different things that just make this game great. And I just thought this was a very good opportunity to demonstrate some real life influence that goes into the game. There is literally so much to unpack when it comes to the science behind silencers. You have the humidity, elevation, you have the bullet grain, how fast the powder burns, the size of the cartridge, the weight of the cartridge, or the projectile, excuse me. There's just so much. And I think that they try to include as much of that as possible with the varying degrees of sounds from different guns, different barrel lengths, so much. There's just, you can't put everything into a video game, or Nikita's probably going to take that as a challenge and be like, fucking hold my vodka, dude. And he's going to put that shit in the game. I'd be surprised. I really want a lathe in the video game so you can change barrel lengths and do all sorts of weird stuff to guns, but that's a whole nother video in and of its own. If you want to see more stuff like this, leave a comment down below and let me know what you want to see. I got a lot of stuff planned. I'm moving here in the next month or two, but after that, sky's the limit. I really want to go ahead and try some new stuff and do stuff that not a lot of other people are doing. So if you have an idea, leave a comment below. I would greatly appreciate it. And until next time, guys, see ya!